William Scott Goldberg, born on December 27, 1966 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, grew up in a household that valued both education and resilience, thanks to his parents, Jed and Ethel Goldberg, who instilled in him a sense of determination that would later shape every chapter of his life. From an early age, Goldberg displayed a passion for sports, excelling in football and demonstrating the kind of raw physical talent that separated him from his peers. But beyond athletics, he also nurtured a fascination with discipline and performance, qualities that would serve as the backbone of his careers in both football and wrestling. Despite facing the pressures of being a standout athlete in high school and later at the University of Georgia, where he became a celebrated defensive tackle, Goldberg's upbringing in Tulsa ensured he remained grounded, always aware that opportunities could disappear quickly if not matched with hard work and relentless focus. Football career and the NFL dream. Before the chants of Goldberg shook arenas across the world, William Scott Goldberg had one dream: to make it in professional football. Growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, sports weren't just a pastime, they were a way of life. Goldberg excelled as a young athlete, particularly in football, where his combination of size, agility, and relentless drive set him apart from his peers. He played college football at the University of Georgia, a program steeped in tradition and fierce competition, where he anchored the Bulldogs' defensive line. Goldberg's dedication and physicality didn't go unnoticed. In 1990, after years of punishing practices, bruising games, and unwavering belief in his abilities, Goldberg saw his efforts rewarded when he was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams in the 11th round of the NFL draft. For Goldberg, it wasn't simply a draft pick. It was the realization of a dream that had carried him since childhood, the validation of countless hours of sweat, training, and sacrifice. Though drafted by the Rams, Goldberg's most meaningful NFL years came with the Atlanta Falcons. There he found stability and a sense of belonging, carving out a role as a dependable defensive tackle. Teammates admired his work ethic and tenacity, though the reality of professional football proved as punishing as it was exhilarating. Later, he spent time with the Carolina Panthers during the team's early days as an expansion franchise. Unfortunately, Goldberg's football career was cut painfully short. A devastating abdominal tear required surgery, robbing him of his explosiveness and limiting his ability to compete at the highest level. For a man who had built his identity around football, the injury was crushing. His lifelong dream had been ripped away in a single moment of bad fortune. The aftermath was one of uncertainty and soul-searching. Without football, Goldberg found himself at a crossroads, unsure of what the future held. Yet, as fate would have it, what seemed like a cruel curse would eventually push him toward a path that would redefine not just his career, but his place in popular culture. Transition to professional wrestling. Goldberg's foray into professional wrestling wasn't fueled by boyhood fantasy or a deep passion for the squared circle. Rather, it was born from necessity, a pragmatic pivot after football's door had closed. At first, he resisted the idea. Wrestling was an entirely different world, one he didn't fully understand. But as fellow athletes and industry insiders began encouraging him, pointing out his intimidating physique and natural aura, Goldberg reconsidered. The turning point came when he entered the WCW Power Plant, World Championship Wrestling's training facility in Atlanta. It was here that he discovered just how demanding professional wrestling truly was. While he had been a high-level athlete all his life, wrestling wasn't simply about raw strength. It required timing, agility, psychology, and the to tell a story with one's body. Goldberg threw himself into training with the same intensity that had defined his football career. His background as an athlete gave him an edge, but it was his sheer determination that impressed his trainers. He wanted to prove that he wasn't just another ex-football player dabbling in wrestling. He wanted to dominate. WCW's creative minds quickly realized they had something special. Goldberg wasn't polished, but he didn't need to be. His power, intensity, and no-nonsense demeanor translated perfectly into a character designed around his strengths. Out of this came the persona that would change wrestling, an unstoppable juggernaut who didn't need elaborate promos or lengthy matches to captivate audiences. His entrance became iconic, walking through a cloud of sparks, breathing in smoke, and exuding pure intimidation. The simplicity of his persona, silent, explosive, and destructive, was his greatest strength. Goldberg wasn't just another wrestler. He was a phenomenon waiting to happen, the streak and WCW dominance. In 1997, Goldberg made his WCW television debut, and from the very beginning, he was presented as something extraordinary. He didn't stumble through rookie mistakes or long-building storylines. Instead, he was portrayed as a wrecking machine, dismantling opponents in matches that often lasted less than 5 minutes. The formula was simple yet electrifying. A thunderous spear to cut his opponent in half, followed by the jackhammer, a suplex-turned slam that showcased both his raw strength and athleticism. Fans didn't need long epics. They wanted to see dominance, and Goldberg delivered it night after night. As the streak grew, so did the mythology. Week after week, the numbers climbed. 50, 75, 100 wins without a loss. The exact count became a subject of debate among fans and historians, but the storyline itself became wrestling legend. Goldberg was presented as untouchable, a modern gladiator whose matches were less about competition and more about spectacle. The streak reached its peak on July 6, 1998, at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Before a massive home state crowd of over 40,000, Goldberg defeated Hollywood Hogan to capture the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. The moment was electric. Fans erupted as Goldberg held the championship aloft, the embodiment of WCW's hopes against WWE's dominance in the wrestling wars of the 1990s. That night cemented Goldberg as more than just a star. He was an icon. His rise was meteoric, his popularity unprecedented. Yet the very speed of his ascent created challenges. WCW's creative team struggled to maintain the aura of invincibility without overexposing him. As the company declined in the late 90s and early 2000s, Goldberg's momentum faltered. But even as WCW crumbled, his mystique never entirely vanished. WWE arrival and reinvention. When WWE purchased WCW in 2001, Goldberg chose to stay away. He was wary of WWE's backstage politics and protective of his reputation. For 2 years, fans speculated about if and when he would appear in Vince McMahon's empire. In 2003, the wait ended. Goldberg made his WWE debut to a thunderous reaction. His first major feud came against The Rock, culminating in a victory at Backlash that legitimized him in the eyes of WWE's audience. Soon after, he entered into a heated rivalry with Triple H in Evolution, leading to his capture of the World Heavyweight Championship. Despite the initial excitement, Goldberg's WWE run was plagued with issues. Creative disagreements and frustrations over his portrayal left him disillusioned. By WrestleMania 20 in 2004, where he faced Brock Lesnar in a much maligned match, Goldberg had grown weary of the environment. Disappointed and dissatisfied, he walked away. For over a decade, Goldberg remained out of wrestling. He pursued other ventures, from acting to car shows, while focusing on family life. Yet his name continued to resonate. Chants of Goldberg echoed in arenas whenever dominant wrestlers appeared, proof that his impact had never truly faded. Triumphant return and late career highlights. In 2016, 12 years after his last match, Goldberg shocked the wrestling world by returning to WWE. His comeback was fueled not just by nostalgia, but by the opportunity to show his young son what he could do inside the ring. His rivalry with Brock Lesnar reignited, and at Survivor Series 2016, Goldberg delivered one of the most shocking moments in WWE history. In just 86 seconds, he defeated Lesnar, a booking decision that re-established his aura of dominance in stunning fashion. Fans who had grown up watching Goldberg in WCW rejoiced, while a new generation experienced his mystique for the first time. The following year, Goldberg captured the WWE Universal Championship, proving that even in his late 40s, he could still headline the biggest events. His later matches became marquee attractions against legends like The Undertaker and younger stars such as Roman Reigns. While some matches drew criticism due to his age and limitations, the sheer spectacle of seeing Goldberg remained undeniable. Each return carried weight because Goldberg wasn't just another wrestler on the roster. He was an event. His presence reminded fans of an era defined by larger-than-life personalities and unforgettable moments, health struggles, and lingering pie. For much of his career, Bill Goldberg seemed larger than life, a figure of raw power, speed, and ferocity whose entrance alone could electrify an arena. Yet behind the steel-like persona and thunderous performances, his body carried the silent toll of decades spent in collision-heavy sports. Goldberg was not just a wrestler, but also a former football player, and both professions are notoriously brutal on the human frame. Over the years, his resilience masked a series of injuries that gradually revealed themselves more in retirement than during the height of his fame. Goldberg has spoken openly about the realities he faces. His left knee, once a critical tool for both football and wrestling, has deteriorated to the point where running is no longer possible without severe discomfort. For an athlete whose identity was built around explosive speed and agility, the loss of this ability is particularly significant. Compounding this struggle, Goldberg has dealt with a shoulder injury that has lingered for over half a decade, constantly nagging at him and limiting the physical freedom he once enjoyed. Adding to these ailments, his final in-ring battle left him with a lasting hand injury, sustained in his retirement match against Gunther, a symbolic wound that seems almost fitting for the end of his career. These injuries are not fleeting or temporary setbacks. They are chronic reminders of the cost of glory. Everyday movements can be accompanied by pain, and training now requires careful adaptation. Instead of the punishing routines that once defined his preparation for matches, Goldberg has transitioned into workouts that preserve mobility and strength while respecting the limitations of his body. This balance requires discipline, patience, and humility, qualities that reflect the evolution of a man who once thrived on pushing his body to extremes. Perhaps what is most striking is Goldberg's willingness to acknowledge these struggles. In an industry where toughness is often synonymous with silence, He has chosen honesty. His openness represents a cultural shift within professional wrestling, where performers are no longer expected to mask vulnerability behind a wall of invincibility. For Goldberg, speaking candidly about his pain is not a sign of weakness, it is a reflection of authenticity. In doing so, he has allowed fans to see not just the warrior who conquered arenas, but also the human being who lives with the scars of that conquest. Financial crisis, rumors. Alongside the physical struggles of retirement, Goldberg has also faced another challenge: rumors of financial instability. Like many athletes whose fame and earning power peak within a relatively short window, speculation has surrounded whether Goldberg's post-wrestling life has been marked by financial strain. Stories have circulated suggesting that lifestyle expenses or time spent away from the ring may have tested his financial security. While these rumors persist, there is little concrete evidence to support them. In fact, Goldberg's activities outside of the ring suggest a man who has been strategic about leveraging his fame. He has appeared in numerous television shows and films, ranging from action roles to guest appearances that capitalized on his unique presence. Beyond entertainment, his well-documented passion for cars has also provided him with opportunities, whether through television projects or public appearances centered around automotive culture. It is also worth noting that Goldberg's periodic returns to WWE were likely motivated by more than money. While financial stability for his family undoubtedly played a role, Goldberg himself has emphasized that his comebacks were also about legacy and personal drive. They allowed him to compete on the grand stage once more, to reconnect with fans, and to share the experience with his son Gage, who was old enough to witness his father's triumphs. For Goldberg, the spotlight was never just about himself. It was also about creating lasting memories for his family. At the center of it all is Goldberg's deep devotion to his wife, Wanda Ferraton, and their son. Family has consistently been his anchor, influencing his decisions during and after his career. While rumors may question his finances, what remains beyond doubt is that Goldberg has prioritized his family's well-being and security above all else. Retirement and reflection. Unlike many legends who orchestrate elaborate farewell tours or grand retirement ceremonies, Goldberg's departure from wrestling carried a quieter dignity. His final bout against Gunther was symbolic, a clash between generations, where the seasoned warrior faced the emerging force of a new era. For fans, it marked not only the end of Goldberg's in-ring story, but also the passing of the torch to those who would carry the industry forward. In the aftermath of retirement, Goldberg has spoken about finding peace. He does not appear burdened by regret or the longing to recapture past glories. Instead, he embraces gratitude for the career he had, for the memories created, and for the unwavering support of fans who carried him through decades of change in the wrestling world. His role today is less about spectacle and more about reflection. He often lends his voice to interviews, podcasts, and public appearances, where he shares insights with humor, humility, and wisdom. In doing so, he has taken on the mantle of elder statesman, a position that allows him to influence without needing to step back into the ring. For Goldberg, retirement is not an ending, but a transition. He no longer carries the weight of proving himself against opponents. Instead, he carries the satisfaction of having given his all to a profession that defined much of his life. Legacy and cultural impact. Goldberg's legacy defies measurement through statistics alone. While titles and accolades reflect his accomplishments, they do not fully capture the essence of what made him extraordinary. His true impact lies in the emotions he stirred. The undefeated streak in WCW, the lightning-fast victories that left fans in shock, and the thunderous chant of Goldberg echoing through arenas. All these moments became part of wrestling's cultural fabric. What set Goldberg apart was his aura. He embodied intensity in its purest form, an unstoppable force whose mystique was as important as his physical dominance. Every entrance, every spear, every jackhammer felt like an event, something that demanded attention. Even in an industry filled with larger-than-life figures, Goldberg's presence stood out. His story is also one of resilience. A football dream cut short by injury might have ended another man's athletic ambitions. For Goldberg, it became the catalyst for a second act in wrestling, a career that would make him a global icon. Along the way, he inspired both fans and fellow performers, proving that greatness in wrestling is not defined by perfection, but by the ability to create unforgettable moments. Today, Goldberg's name still resonates. He is remembered not only as a dominant competitor, but as a performer who captured imaginations and defined an era. His legacy continues to influence the industry, serving as a reminder of the unique blend of power, mystique, and spectacle that professional wrestling can embody. Current status and life beyond wrestling. In the present, Goldberg has settled into a quieter rhythm of life. With Wanda Ferriton by his side since their marriage in 2005, he has built a family-centered existence around raising their son, Gage. Unlike the constant travel and relentless demands of wrestling, his days now reflect balance, time spent with family, personal fitness, and selective public appearances that keep him connected to fans without overwhelming his private life. Although no longer preparing for competition, Goldberg remains deeply committed to health and fitness. His workouts are adapted to accommodate his lingering injuries, but the discipline that once defined his preparation for matches remains intact. He continues to embody strength, not in the sense of dominance over others, but in the quiet perseverance of maintaining wellness despite limitations. Goldberg also embraces opportunities to engage with fans, whether at conventions, television appearances, or special events. He is welcomed warmly by those who grew up watching him and by new generations discovering his legacy. In these settings, he offers not only autographs and photographs, but also genuine conversations, showing the approachable side of a man once cast as an unstoppable force. For Goldberg, this chapter of life is defined by perspective. He no longer carries the burden of proving his worth in the ring. Instead, he carries the satisfaction of a man who gave everything to his craft and emerged with both scars and pride. The marks left on his body are reminders of battles fought, while the love of his family and the admiration of fans remind him of victories won. In his own words, Goldberg feels good about where he is. The spotlight may have dimmed, but the legacy remains. His story is not one of fading into obscurity, but of embracing a different kind of strength, the strength of balance, gratitude, and peace. In this way, Goldberg continues to inspire, proving that even the most fearsome warriors can find fulfillment beyond the battlefield.